Well, welcome back to the channel. Today I got 3 deer dogging stories I want to tell you, and 2 of them involve hunting buck beds with dogs. So let's get into it. The first one happened several years ago in Central Florida. I'd had a little buck on camera. Nothing special. There was some big bucks around, and there was basically an island in a prairie type area. So little clumps of trees, and then it would be like sawgrass or just broom sage type grass and water for 200 or 300 yards, and then another little clumps of trees. So we're basically hunting it on foot using dogs, taking dogs in there and jumping the bucks up. Well, one day it was me and a buddy of mine, Justin, and I took dogs in and jumped the deer, assuming it was a buck. There wasn't many does that stayed out there. It was mainly the bucks. And anyway, jumped the deer up. Dogs tore out running him, and he went across the big power line, and we just barely glimpsed the deer. When he went across the power line, I was like, it's a buck, but it's not a big one. Where he does a loop, and he's coming back to the water, and up there, them bucks will try to run to the water, and when they run to the lakes, it's deep enough they'll swim across, or depending on the wind direction, they'll swim out and come back up in the grass and let the wind blow their scent out, and then they'll hide in the grass with nothing but their nose sticking up and hide from the dogs. So I went to cut the deer off from going in one of the lakes. It's probably about chest deep, but he beat me to it. So he sloshes out there in the lake, and by the time I get out to the edge, he's 300 yards down the edge, coming back up in the grass. And I had a cur dog out with my dogs, Emma, and they're all swimming, but she gets up there, and it's hard for a deer to hide from her. Anyway, she makes a deer jump up and runs. Well, the deer got away. I wasn't able to get a shot at him. We're on foot, and he just beat us out of the block, got across the boundary. So we go back the next day and doing the same thing, and jump the deer up basically in the same place. Well, when he does his loop this time, I take off running and get to the edge of the lake, and I've just got my 270 with a 3 through 9 by 40 Leopold. But I didn't actually see the deer, but I seen the water bust up on the other side of the other end of the lake when he was coming into it. So I just scoped him and kept aiming and watched him swim, and he came out a couple hundred yards off the bank, and the dogs are swimming behind him, and does a loop and goes back up in the grass, and then I can't see him anymore, but he never came out. So I told my brothers and Justin on the radio, I said, I'm gonna run around the other side of the lake and see if I can make him jump up and run again, or see him and get a shot or something. So I was easing through there, and I'd marked there was one single bay tree, and I'd marked it so I wouldn't lose my place. I was walking around the lake because it was like half a mile to go around. I got around there, and the dogs are just everywhere hunting, but they can't find the deer, and when they hide with nothing but their nose up, it's almost impossible on the dogs. As the grass is about, like the water where he squatted, the water was a little over knee deep, and then the grass is up waist high, so he's just, not even visible. So I get around there to the tree, and I'm looking, I don't see him. There's bubbles everywhere because the dog's been running crazy. So I start just walking out through the water, and I get about to the last place I seen him, and I'd walked by him. He jumped up, like he was squatted under my knees, basically. He jumped up right here, and all I did was I shot from the hip, but I came around and pow, and shot him in the back of the head, and that ended that race. So this one's in the same area. Some of y'all might have seen this buck before, but prior to the year I killed him, we were just walking dogs in. Same area as the previous story, and Darren, there's a big main lime rock road that goes through a prairie and comes up on a big hill, and then you got to go like half a mile before there's another crossroad. So there's like a section right there of woods that bucks lay sometimes, they don't really get touched because nobody stops on the main road. So anyway, Darren went down just past the rise and came in the woods, and it's thick, nasty scrub, hard to walk. But he brought the dogs all the way around, and me and Tristan had parked on the other side of the prairie and walked down into the prairie. So Darren's dogs jumped, and at the time we didn't know what it was, but we were looking for this buck. So his dog jumped, and they start coming right to me, and next thing I know, here comes a deer. I mean, all I see is horns. Here comes a deer running straight at me, but he's in bushes about this tall, just running 90 to nothing, just busting the bushes wide open. And I think he's gonna go. I'm basically standing on a point of trees, like he's got to go left or he's got to go right. And I thought he was gonna go left, and if he went left, he would basically be out of sight instantly. So I threw up on him, and it's like brown and horns is all I'm getting as he's blowing by about 40, 50 yards, and I've got the rifle. Pow! And when I shot, he immediately cut out and came by to the right side of me. And that's when I realized I had a bad magazine in my gun. The spring was broke. It wouldn't put another shell in, and he ran, I don't remember, 15 yards from me. And I had Tristan I told Tristan to go to the left because I thought he was going to go around that other point of the trees. And he just had a 20 gauge. So by the time he runs back over on this side of me, the deer was out of range. But I told him on the radio, I said, it's a big 12 point. I could see 6 on one side. And up to that time, we knew it was a big buck, but we didn't know exactly how big he was. So the deer ended up getting across the boundary on us. There was some electric company was out there working on some power lines and stuff. So when the deer came through, there was no shooting, just for safety. So anyway, come back the following year, and that was it. Never saw him again that year. Come back the following year, and I had a buddy riding with me, and we said, let's go take dogs right back into that same bed and see if he's there again. So Darren did the exact same thing, and me and my buddy parked where me and Tristan had parked and walked down into the prairie, and he was laying in the same bed again. Darren's dogs, they took off, and he comes right down into the prairie, but instead of coming across it to where we could shoot him, he immediately turned and went right back in the thick stuff and headed towards a big lake. So I was in a little bit better shape than my buddy. I took off running, and there's like a old fire lane that runs all the way down to the lake. It's about a mile, probably a little better than a mile. So I'm just siding him all the way down to the lake. Well, he beats me across, and he goes and does a big loop. It takes 10, 15 minutes and turns and starts coming back my way again. So I'm siding him, and I keep him turned into the same block, and he goes down to the lake and gets out about 100 yards off the bank, and he's in the lake, and the dogs are running behind him, and he comes back up and runs right beside where he just ran through and goes for another loop. So when he's coming back the next time, and I've run that mile from where I left my buddy to the lake, now I've ran that about 3 times in a 30, 40 minute period. So he does a loop and he starts coming back, and this time I'm trying to pay attention to the wind best I can, and I'm lining up. I've got a Garmin I'm looking at, but I'm lining up where he's coming to, so I'm not running full sprint, and I can try to get the wind on him just like I'd be setting up for him still hunting. And he comes up, started hearing him crashing, and he comes up in the point of bushes, but the wind was he just did catch my wind, and I heard it go silent, and then I just heard I said, well, he's going to go back and try to cross in another little finger of woods down there. So I just covered like half the distance, and left it. I stopped about 150 yards from where I thought he would cross, and just got ready. And it wasn't 2 minutes, he come loping out there, and he rolled, and I ran down there to him and couldn't see a bullet hole, couldn't see anything, and I wasn't sure if he's trying to get up or what, so I stuck the rifle to him and shot him again. But that ended up being a 14 point, not a 12, and my biggest dog running buck. So this one, we're up in North Florida, and it was me, Justin, Jeff, and Hayden. So we had 4 trucks, and we didn't have any good bucks located. We didn't have, like, season was winding down. We didn't have much going on. Wasn't getting too serious. Dogs were a little wore out. So times like that, when I don't have something for sure going on, that's when I'll go look at new areas or just go check old areas or something like that. So that's what I did. I went in there's a big area of cypress, and then around it is just open wiregrass or whatever you call it. And but it's thick and deep inside, and then you got the open edge, and then you got like planted pines and thick. So I was just walking them edges looking for sign, and had the dogs with me. And as soon as I come in the first pond, like, I had to bust my way in there, but as soon as I come out on that first edge, there's rubs everywhere. Like, every cypress tree rub size is rubbed. And I was like, ooh, there's a pretty good buck in here, and he's feeling frisky because everything's fresh, scrapes tore up. But it was the day before a bad front was coming through, and anybody that dog hunts knows, before the front and then the day after, 12 hours following a heavy rain, for some reason scent doesn't stick, so dogs can't smell good. So dogs were basically trailing all over, but would never jump nothing. They were just smelling it here, smelling it there. And it was late in the afternoon by the time we got over there anyway. So rain was coming in that night, so we loaded up, went back to camp. And that night after dinner, I just got on my maps and was looking, and I'm talking about zooming in, looking at trees, looking at trails, looking at everything I could look at. And I look at the big picture, and I was like, if a buck's there making sign, where's he gonna lay? And I eliminated a whole bunch of places, and I narrowed it down to, I said, I think he's gonna be basically right there, 90% he's right there, or 10% he's right there. So where I had to park the truck, the 90% place was closer to my truck than the 10% place. So it was just me and Justin the second day. It didn't quit raining until like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So we were getting out way after daylight, but it was just me and Justin and Tristan and Jay, my boys. So there was a road 3/4 of a mile from where I thought the buck was laying, and it made a curve. They like to cross there a lot if they're running the edge of the cypress. So I had Justin go sit there, and then I drove in and then took dogs in to where he was gonna lay. And I'm walking through there and literally get to 20 yards from where I think he's laying, and run, dogs take off, bushes go to breaking. I told Justin on the radio, I said, he's up. And sure enough, he did a big loop, ran the edge, went straight out to Justin, but he came out like 150 yards down from Justin and just kind of popped out on the edge of the ditch. And I hear Justin, "Ka-ka, he's on the radio, it's a big one," he turned back in. So I'm still in there on foot. And there's, like, you got to go through just tangle of thick to pop out on the edge of a pond. And then you got 200 or 300 yards where it's fairly open. And then if you want to go to another pond, you got to go through the thick again. So based on where he was, I looked at the map and I was like, if I get there, I should be able to cut him off. And it was one of the bigger gaps. And I busted back through the stuff, came out there, and got to a clump of bushes in the middle of it to where I could shoot both ways. And as soon as I got started, I'm panting, out of breath, I was running. It's cold on top of being soaking wet. And anyway, about the time I got stopped good, the buck broke the bushes like 150 yards from me, just running, loping straight at me. And if you've ever seen a mature buck comfortable, where he doesn't have a care in the world, that's what this buck was doing. He was just loping, and he was just going to go back around and go in some water somewhere and lose the dogs. He didn't care about any of it. So he was just loping. I put the crosshairs on him and just let him keep coming, let him keep coming, let him keep coming. There was a cross trail about 75 yards from me that turned off the edge and went into the pines. And as soon as he hit that cross trail, he turned, and when he went broadside, and it was one of those shots where instantly knew I shot like 3 foot behind the deer. Like, what in the world was that? I pumped it and rolled him up on the second one. And what was cool is he fell basically in all the rubs. The original rubs, when I popped out in that first opening and saw all the rubs everywhere, he fell right where I had originally saw him. So I knew about the buck. I didn't have a picture of him or anything like that, but I knew based on the rubs there was a good buck there. So I found him one afternoon, map scouted him that night, used dogs to kill him the following morning. So that was a memorable one. I hope you are enjoying these stories. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.